things happen to good people. None of us were ever really born equal. Only one life, there ain't no sequel. Some people live, others stay fearful. This world ain't never been peaceful. You got good, always butting
Hi,
heads against evil. The good try to be fair, but the bad.
welcome to this brand new tutorial series where we're gonna make an RPG, specifically either an action RPG or a turn-based RPG, depending on which path you choose at the end of this video. So in this video, we're gonna design our level, make a player that moves and animates, and make enemies that move randomly and follow the player when it's near. Before we get started, I want to tell you the best way to follow this video, which is to watch me code an event, then let me give you an explanation of how the event works, so you have an understanding of what's going on. Then you pause the video and go and code the events for yourself. Once you're done coding, you come back to the video, play it, and then follow the same steps for any events after that. And with that out of the way, let's get started. First of all, go and open Game Maker, and then click on New, and select this RPG tutorial template. So this is a project that already contains all the sprites or images that we're gonna need for this whole series. So select that, then enter a name for your project here, and click Let's Go. Your new project will open, and the first thing you're going to notice is the list on the right side, which has all the assets for your project. Now, because we have opened a template, this already has a bunch of sprites that we can use. So let me go through the ones that we're going to use first. This is a lava background for the entire level. This is a tile set that we're going to use to design our levels. And these are the player sprites. So there are 8 sprites in total, and there are 4 sprites for each state of the player, and there are 2 states, idle and walk. So each state has sprites for when the player is facing up, down, left, and right. You can open these sprites, go into edit and change anything, or draw yourself here, because GameMaker has its own image editor, and you can make your own sprites in here. I'm going to close this and just use these sprites. Let's click on the objects folder. We'll go up here in this menu and double click on objects to create one. Let's name this obj underscore player. So obj stands for object. You can rename it with F2 or this menu option. The object's properties are going to appear on the left in the inspector. Let's give it a sprite by clicking here and then giving it the idle down player sprite. For making our level, we first need a tile set. So click on the tile set folder in the assets list, then go up here again and double click on. For making our level, we first need a tile set. So click on the tile set folder in the assets. sets list, then go up here again and double click on tile sets to make it tile set asset. Its editor is going to open here. We need to select a sprite to use. So let's click here and select the tile set sprite. So the sprite was just an image, but this tile set asset will now allow us to use the specific tiles from this image to design our level. The default size for each tile, 16 by 16, works for us, so we're going to keep that. Now we're going to design our level by going into the default room that GameMaker has given us. So double click on that and the room editor will open. First of all, we're going to set a background. So go into the layers list here and click on the background layer. Then click here to set a sprite and select the lava sprite. It's going to appear in the room but only once. So to make it repeat and fill the room, we're going to enable the horizontal tile and vertical tile options. Now in the game, we want this lava background to keep moving, so we're going to give it a speed of 0.05 in both axes. This value is really low because our game has a low resolution, and that's why this needs to be a really small value. Let's make our tile layers now. We'll have two tile layers, one for the background tiles and one with the actual collision tiles that the player can't walk through, and that layer is going to have the walls. So in the layers panel, let's click here to make the player can't walk through, and that layer is going to have the walls. So in the layers panel, let's click here to make a tile layer, and let's name this tiles underscore back. Over on the right side, you're going to see this. Here you need to select a tile set to use. So let's click here and select the tile set that we made. Now using the individual tiles here, you can design your level. I'm going to select the grass tile and then use the rectangle tool from up here to quickly design some sections of my level.
Lethal, they gon' fight dirty, every single one deceitful. Stand up, I wanna see your face. Get your chin up like you.
I'll also take the cave tile and then use that to design a basic cave. Let's make it interesting by designing multiple paths that the player can go through.
This ain't a game, this your life that we're playing with. There ain't no reset button or an off switch. You gotta face your fears, you gotta scratch the itch. You gotta break through the walls and get after it. Only time will tell who's gonna make it. I promise you I'ma be the one who's gonna take it. I fight, I provide, leaving blood on the pavement. If you're up against me, then you better be praying, cause I'll keep punching till my knuckles start breaking. I'll keep going through the blood that I'm tasting. I won't stop till they've all seen greatness. The battle for my world just started, I've been waiting. Villains and heroes, only time will tell who will win and who will fail.
Now we're gonna make the second layer that's only gonna have the walls. So let's click on this button again and name this new layer tiles underscore call. So call stands for collision. And these
You can't stop me, I'm obsessive. A lot of people think that I come off aggressive, but I'm just passionate. Why aren't you? Ain't nobody care if you got nothing to lose. You gotta put yourself on the line, make moves, otherwise you'll be a sheep with the lions watching you. Only time will tell who's gonna make it. I promise you I'ma be the one who's gonna take it. I fight, I provide, leaving blood on the pavement. If you're up against me, then you better be praying, cause I'll keep punching till my knuckles start breaking. I'll keep going through the blood that I'm
layer names, they don't
won't stop till they've all seen greatness.
mean anything specific to GameMaker. It's up to us what we want to name them, and then later we just need to reference this layer name in our game so the player can check where it's walking to see if there is a tile there or not. Let's go over to the right side and here again select the same tile set. Now you can use these wall tiles from here to design your level and place the correct tiles, but for now, to finish this quickly, I'm just gonna select this one tile and then place the tiles around all the areas where the player can walk. I'm gonna use the line tool for this. The whole purpose
The day, don't waste any time, know it's time to make a change. Up in your mind, rearrange. Start thinking you're the hero headed out on your way. There's gonna be good times and bad times. That's alright, just stay on the line. Cause in life we all got a different mission, but the good guy always wins, that's a given. If you stay committed, you stay driven, you'll be looking down the barrel of completing your mission. Ignition, light the flame, get the fire and you listen. Take these words deep, cause this is real, ain't no fiction. You don't need drugs, help any prescription, just persistence and energy.
of this layer is to make sure that the player can't go out of the tile area and go walking
Opposition and be the hero in a story you yourself have written. Villains and heroes, only time will tell who will win and who will fail. Villains and heroes, no there ain't no one else. Pick a side by yourself. Let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4 steps I take from my bed to the floor. 5, 6, 7, 8. Will today be rough or will today be great? 9, 10, 11, 12. Lately I've been going through hell.
on the lava, so make sure you cover it good. Now let's go to the layers panel again and select the instances layer. This is where you can place your objects and create instances from them, and those
Sick of being mortal, I'm about to be a savage. I see a lot of things that I want, I will have them. I got a new mindset that I just
instances can then move around and do their own thing.
with the nail.
So from the assets list, let's drag obj player and place it here in the grass area in the room.
We will be told, helping others make changes. I'll be so bold, they will watch in amazement. Am I gonna face it? Am I gonna chase it? Am I gonna start over? I keep waiting. Time is limited, quickly fading. Get my mind right, it's my time to take it.
Finally, to finish off our room, let's set up the camera. By default, when you run the game, by clicking on this button or pressing F5, you're gonna see the whole room at once. And obviously that's not what you want. You want there to be a camera so that you only see the area surrounding the player. So back in GameMaker, click on the room in your assets. So its settings open up in the inspector here. Then go into viewports and cameras, enable the viewports option, then go into viewport 0 and make it visible. So this
Deal with the devil, channel rage through my vessel into something that is special. Energy of a rebel going up a level. I just wanna be
is the first camera that GameMaker gives us, and we are gonna use it. Let's set a width and height for how much area is visible in the room. I'll make this 320 by 180.
pages. I will not be
Then let's set the size of the game window. I'll make this 1280 by 720. Let's now ask the camera to follow the player object by selecting that object here. Then we need to make sure that the player stays in the center of the camera by setting borders that are half the size of the camera. So I'll make this 160 by 90, so that's half the size that we had up here. With this, if you now run the game again by pressing F5, you're gonna see the player in the room and you only see the area surrounding the player and not the whole room anymore. The lava in the background is also moving as we gave it a speed. Now the next thing to do is to code our player so that we can move it with the WASD keys. In the assets list, let's double click on OBJ player to open it. It will open in the code editor here. By the way, if you're still seeing the old editor, I suggest you go into preferences, then code editor beta and make sure that this is enabled. If you've just enabled it, you will have to restart GameMaker, and then when you open your object, you're gonna see the new editor. So in the player object, we are gonna add two events, create and step. In each event, you can add code, and the code runs when the event runs. So the create event runs only once, and that's where we're gonna initialize any properties that we need to use throughout the game. The step event runs every single frame, so that's where we take the input from the keyboard and move the player. So let's click on add event to add the create event. If you're asked, just select GML code and make sure you enable don't ask again for this project and hit OK. Your event is going to appear here, and the default text size is going to be something like this, which is a little small for my taste. So I'm going to go into the preferences, then into code editor to beta, and then under theme, I'm going to change the font size to my personal preference, 14, which is a little small for my taste. So I'm going to go into the preferences. Then into code editor to beta, and then under theme, I'm going to change the font size to my personal preference, 14. Then just hit OK. With that out of the way, let's go and write our first line of code. Something darker inside. You can feel the switch, feel the shift in the tide. They keep desiring something that's more inspiring.
Their brains rewiring, old thoughts they start expiring. They're never tiring, no now they feel the fight in them. They feel the fire sweep, take over entirely. They feel it growing, it's showing the feelings they keep overflowing.
This is a variable and we are calling it move_speed. We are setting it equal to 1. So this stores how fast our player can move and we'll be using it in the step event. Let's write this now. Here we are making
They feel the temperature rise, now there is no place to hide. You better dig deep inside and find anything, everything that you could ever need. Every breath that you breathe, dedicated to believe. Streets that they called home, not for the weak, left out in the cold. Watched all the sheep do what they're told, swore they would feast one day on their bones. On to the streets that they called home, not for the weak, left out in the cold. Watched all the sheep do what they're told, swore they would feast one day on their bones. With the form of a beast.
a variable called tilemap that gets the tilemap of the second tile layer that we created, tiles_call. Remember, the player needs to collide with the tiles in that layer because it contains walls. So we are getting its tilemap ID right now so that we can later check for collisions against this layer when the player is trying to move. So now for the movement, we need to add the step event.
Took a new form now, straight beast underneath what you see. They gon' eat anything, everything, make them bleed, cut them deep. A villain origin story, tangled with glory, now it's looking stormy. Off in the distance, hear the roaring, thunder pouring, there ain't no ignoring. That they called home, not for the weak, left out in the cold. Watched all the sheep do what they're told, swore they would feast one day on their bones. On to the streets that they called home, not for the weak, left out in the cold. Watched all the sheep do what they're told, swore they would feast one day on their bones. With the form of a beast. They took 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 the form of a beast. Wake up every day feels boring, the same thing, routine in the morning. Grew up too fast without warning, and when it rains it's pouring. I got dreams, big dreams, I wanna do big things, but I just can't seem to put it all together. I just wanna be seen. I'm jumping ship, I'm a diving, middle of the ocean, swimming till I find it. I see an island out ahead, filled with things that I've wanted since I was a kid. Swim to it with every muscle I've got, sucking down water in my lungs till I cough. But I won't give up, I'll never stop till I wash up on the
Event. Let's go up here, click on the plus sign, then go under step and select the step event. Against this layer when the player is trying to move. So now for the movement, we need to add the step event. Let's go up here, click on the plus sign.
Gotta make up a plan to give me some kind of chance. I gotta enter a new mode or else I'll get KO'd.
Then go under step and select the step event. The step event will show up here just below the create event. Let's add some code here to check for input from the WASD keys and store them into two variables, one for horizontal input and one for vertical. The first variable here, which is for horizontal input, is subtracting the input of the A key from the input of the D key. That gives us 1 when B is held down and -1 when A is held down. But you're probably wondering, why is it that way? See, the reason we are doing this is because in GameMaker, if you want an instance to move to the right, you add 1 to its x position or its horizontal coordinate, and to move left, you subtract 1. That's why we have these variables set up in this way. Similarly, for the
I like to get paid, that's why I work every day. I'll be making money till I'm in my grave. Don't care what they say, I'll buy time with my money. Laughing to the bank cause it's funny. The money keep coming, I manifest it. Sing these lyrics and you'll get it. I'm the bank, come invest it. I get tracked and I have it. Money finds me attractive. I'm the type to make commas, turn a profit. I'm the boss, Willy Wonka, but it ain't chocolate. Yeah, I'm just being honest, I work for this shit. I'm usually modest, but this beat lit, so I'm going off the
For the vertical input, what we're gonna do is we're gonna subtract the input from W from the input of S. So that gives
coming with the rawness. I gotta admit that I'm usually modest, but I work hard for my shit. I'll do the work, yeah, I'll do it till it hurts. I'll invest in my future, I'll invest in the purse. I wanna be so rich, life changes, and I don't ever think about how much I just pay it. Yeah, it's the dream, the American dream. Live on top, don't stop till you got everything. But there's balance, cause this life is a challenge. You gotta live in the now while building up the challenge.
gives us 1 if S is pressed, which helps us move down, and -1 if W is pressed, which helps us move up. Now we know how much to move on both the X and Y axes, so let's actually call a function to help us move. The function we're gonna call is move and collide. A function
So keep working till it's hurting, cause that's when you start deserving everything you want, everything you need. Trust the process.
in GameMaker takes parameters that determine how the function is going to work. For the move and collide function, it takes 3 main parameters. So that's how much to move on the x-axis, which is horizontal, how much to move on the y-axis, which is vertical, and which object or tile map to use as walls so it stops when that is encountered. So let's write this for our code. This calls the move and collide function with the x value being the horizontal input from the keyboard multiplied by the movement speed. Then the y value is the vertical input from the keyboard multiplied by the movement speed again. And then the collision check being the tile map that we stored earlier. So the player is going to try to move and it will be stopped by any tiles in the tiles called layer.
I work for this shit. I'm usually modest, but this beat lit, so I'm going off thoughtless, talking my shit. Yeah, I'ma be the hottest designer in drip. I'm just coming with the rawness. I gotta admit that I'm usually modest, but I work hard for my shit. I was born to be a fighter, had these dreams and desires. I would be something better, energy, got a fire in my soul to keep burning, a pain that keep hurting, a curse is emerging, feel the thirst, keep on working, I won't stop, I won't quit, to the top of this shit. I get lost in the work, sweat dripping, not a bitch. I get mad, I get pissed, I get after this shit, hit the gas, feel the grip, adrenaline, never miss. I'm not patient, but I've learned to embrace it, cause I've been working, I've been waiting, never complacent, cause I'm so close I could taste it, want it away from everything I've been chasing. I'm honest and I promise that I got this. I'm launching, all I've wanted has been exhausting. I'll teach you how to harness, control the conscious. You got this, yeah you got this, you gotta want it. Life ain't fair, are you gonna win or will you play scared? I will not stop, I am prepared to get to the top, yeah you must be rare. Got 'em like hey, hey, I will not stop, I am prepared to get to the top, yeah you must be rare. You got one shot, life ain't fair, are you gonna win or will you play scared? I will not stop, I am prepared to get to the top, yeah you must be rare. Got 'em like hey, hey, I will not stop, I am prepared to get to the top, yeah you must be rare. Yeah, watch out, I'm fighting hard for the crown. Yeah, no doubt I'll be the best pound for pound. I'm obsessed with winning, this is my...
If you run the game now by pressing F5, you'll be able to move the player in any direction using the WASD keys. But now the problem is that it's using the same sprite for all directions. But you know we have 8 sprites to use for this. So now we're going to implement that. We're going to do this using conditions. A condition lets you run some code only if that condition is true. The way we're going to do it is this. If the player is moving, then we check the input. Based on the input, we set a walking sprite. Else, if the player is not moving, then we set an idle sprite, depending on which walking sprite was being used. So let's add this code. First of all, we have a group condition that checks if the horizontal input is not 0 or the vertical input is not 0. This means that if either of these conditions is true, the code after it will run. And overall, this group condition means that there is input and the player is moving.
Try your best to copy it. Like a CEO, I move like an athlete pro. I party like a rock star show. I live every day like my last never know. I run it like a CEO. I move like an athlete pro. I party like a rock star show. I live every day like my last never know. I run it like a CEO. I move like an athlete pro. I party like a rock star show.
So let's make a block for this. Any lines that you have inside this block are going to run when the condition is true.
Something sacred. It's not about what anyone else thinks of me. It's all about how I live, what's my legacy? Am I happy, did I give fucking...
In the block, let's add another condition. This checks if the vertical input is greater than 0, meaning we are moving down. So in that case, we'll set the sprite to the walk down sprite. This way we're gonna add 3 more conditions for the 3 other directions. So else if vertical is smaller than 0, it means we are moving up and we use the walk up sprite.
Watch out, cause I'm here now and I'm staying. Claws out, this the fight that I've been craving. I know there's something inside of me, but it's been masked by fear and anxiety. But no more, I'ma break out of the chains. Let's defiantly. Go! I'm waking up, this ain't enough. All of my dreams were starting to rust, but I believe that I can adjust. Positive thoughts, I'm starting to trust. Nothing's deserved unless you work. Something of worth requires an urge. I have been hurt by those at their worst, but that gave me will, some power, a surge.
Else if horizontal is greater than 0, we are walking right, so we use that sprite. Else if horizontal is smaller than 0, then we are walking left, so we use that sprite.
I am a hunter, I've been filled with demons and hunger. I am the thunder, I command the masses in numbers. Look at the fear in their eyes, this is what happens when you are surprised. It's time to meet your demise, just call me Zeus and look to the sky. Everything's amplified, no they cannot deny, I will be rectified. If you dissect me, find scars, teach you left behind. Injuries that define me to my core, they'll hear me roar like never before. The pain I absorbed is feeding my core, I'm hard to ignore. I'll beat down your door, if you wanted war, well then you got war. And they know that I won't surrender, so they fear me as a contender. When I fight they always...
So it's all simple logic. It might be a little intimidating if you're new to coding, but just think of it as talking to the computer, asking it, hey, is this variable this value? And then telling it what to do in that case. So take some time to read this code and make sure you understand what is happening. Now let's add another else block here. This will run if the condition up here is false. So if this block means that the player is moving, this block means that the player is not moving. So here we're gonna set an idle sprite based on the walking sprite that was being used. Let's add a condition to check if the current sprite is equal to the walk right sprite. In that case, we set the sprite to the idle right sprite. So using the same logic, let's add 3 more
Hey, let me get my head straight, I need a drink of water. It's been days I've had a headache. Don't wanna wake up one day, feel like I regret things. I want my story just to have a happy ending. And I don't got a plan B, a plan A's all I need. Took the ships from the sea and burnt them all, no retreat. It's kill or get eat, and get buried with the seeds. But that makes me feel free, hella focused on my dreams. I got habits, they're established. I'm doing things a bit manic, but I can handle it. Juggle this, juggle that, struggle here, lose some cash. Win and lose, make it back. You can choose your own path, nothing good comes fast. Nothing fast ever lasts, so I'll be patient but attack. Every day like it's my last, push the pedal to the gas. Burn the fuel that I have, start a fire, light a match. I ain't never looking back. So plant hard in your feet, there's no retreat. Burn the boats on the shore till they're buried underneath. There ain't no going back. Forget the past out of desperation. Are the people born who can last? There's no retreat.
Conditions. Let's check if the sprite is walk left, then set it to idle left. If it's walk up, we set it to idle up. And if it's
Feel unstoppable and responsible to try to make all the impossible go flip to probable. This life is not something that's optional, it's got its obstacles, but it's a gift. So don't miss out on your chance to be phenomenal. Push all the chips in, I take risks cause risky wins. I take hits straight to the chin, then get right back up again. I don't lose, I always win, cause any loss is a lesson. I got a different engine, wanna go, I'll go again. I'm on the chase while they running, call the plays that are coming. Turn a profit out of nothing, like a prophet up and coming. Taking shots, I'm always gunning. When I gamble, never bluffing. Last shot, I'll be clutching.
walk down, we set it to idle.
Game winners, train killers, I can make 7 figures, 8 figures, 9 figures. Pay for any fucking dinner, paint a picture. Life richer, good people, good liquor. Life bigger, fight winner. I just wanna get there quicker. So plant hard in your feet, there's no retreat. Burn the boats on the shore till they're buried underneath. There ain't no going back. Forget the past out of desperation. All the people born who can last. There's no retreat. Don't believe you got it in you. You can do anything that you think that you need. Don't be scared, go succeed. The only people who can lead are the ones who don't retreat.
Down. Again, this might be a lot if you're new, but if you stop to look at it and try to understand the logic, it's actually pretty straightforward. Also, if you're wondering why we've used 2 equal signs here but 1 here, it's because you use 2 equal signs when comparing 2 values in an if condition, but you use 1 equal sign when setting the value of a variable. So now run the game by pressing F5, and you're gonna see that the player moves and animates with the correct sprite for where it's moving and whether it's moving. Now there is a quick fix I want to apply. If you slide along a wall, you can see that the movement gets a little jittery. So to fix that, we need to apply limits to how much the player can move in any given.
Let's go. I got big dreams, I'ma do big things. Yeah, you see me on the big screen, looking so clean. I don't move slow, I move fast, right past anybody taking life for granted. Yeah, that's too bad. I'd be grateful for everything that I have. You only got this life, you don't get it back. Make the most of it, become the best that I can. Everybody look at me, I got a plan. You gotta work hard, play hard, do it from the start. Cause how you do anything is everything is art.
Given frame. So let's go to the step event and go to this move and collide call, and we're gonna add some more parameters. We want the next 3 parameters to use their default value, so I'll just enter undefined 3 times. And now we have come to the parameters that we actually want to set. So the first one is the horizontal limit. I'll set that to move speed. And then we have the vertical limit, which I'll also make the move speed. So in total for this function, we have the first 3 parameters that we entered before, then we have undefined 3 times, and then we have move speed twice. If you run the game now and try to slide along the walls, you'll see it's now very smooth.
You better watch out, I'm on the climb to the crown in my prime right now. Hear me loud, I've been spitting for a while now. All by myself, independent DIY now. Don't need no help, I've been beating out labels and money and budgets. It's funny, I do all the work, yeah, keep it 100. I fight for my dreams, I would die for these things. I believe in myself, I refuse to be weak, I like to build things. Empires out of buildings, I wanna leave a legacy of helping others finally feel things. Of motivating and killing, depression, exhaustion, we need some healing. I work through the pain, I like seeing gains. I keep my head down, buried, walk through the flames. Yeah, I do this every day.
Now we are in the second half of the video and we're gonna add enemies to our game. They're gonna move around randomly in a rectangle surrounding where they were created, and they're gonna follow the player when it's near. Our game's gonna have 2 types of enemies, so we want a way to give both of them the same code from the same place. We're gonna do that through parenting. There will be a main object called obj enemy parent. This will have all the code for how enemies move and behave. Then we're gonna make objects called obj enemy 1 and obj enemy 2. These will be children of the main object. This way they will use the code from their parent. If the parent has any properties like how much damage an enemy does, then these child objects can have their own values for those properties so that the child objects are unique. They would still use the same code, just their variables would have different values. So let's make an object and call this obj enemy parent. Then let's make an object called obj enemy 1. This will be our first enemy, and we'll make the second enemy in a later video. While you have your obj enemy 1 open, go here in the inspector and click here to give it a sprite. Make sure it's the enemy 1 sprite.
I feel able to turn the tables, I could do this. Just keep moving, keep your hands up, stupid. I feel lucid, a new viewing. I can see the end, I can see my future, I can view it. It's right there for the taking. Everything I've
Then go down here and open the parent menu. From here we need to set a parent, so click here, then select obj enemy parent, so it knows that it's a child of that object. Let's open the room now and place some enemies here. In the layers panel, make sure the instances layer is selected, and then from the assets list, drag and suppose that it's a child of that object. Let's open the room now and place some enemies here. In the layers panel, make sure the instances layer is selected, and then from the assets list, drag and drop some enemy instances into the room. Now let's code our enemy so it walks around and follows the player when it's near. Let's double click on obj enemy parent. Before adding any events, let's set up some properties. So go into the inspector on the left, and at the bottom, let's click on add variable to add our first variable to this object. The first variable will be HP, which is the amount of health that this enemy has. Now let's code our enemy so it walks around and follows the player when it's near. Let's double click on obj enemy parent. Before adding any events, let's set up some properties. So go into the inspector on the left, left. And at the bottom, let's click on add variable to add our first variable to this object. The first variable will be HP, which is the amount of health that this enemy has. I'll set this to 3. Then let's create another variable called
till I collapse. I've been moving too fast, got my foot up on the gas, full throttle till I crash. I'm back with a vengeance, you gon' see me end this. I will be ascending, I don't ever slack. I got my eyes on a prize, what I see for my life. I don't float, no I fly, do or die.
damage. This is how much damage it does to the player. I'll set it to 1.
Get ready for a fight. Do you wanna see what you're made of? What if there was no one to save us? Would you leave it all on the pavement? Would you dye the ground with some straight blood? I just wanna find all my limits. I'ma put everything in it. I'm in this life to win it, and this is just the beginning. Do you want it bad? Do you want it bad? Do you want it bad? I'll fight till I collapse. I'll fight till I collapse.
Then let's create a variable called distance to player. This is how far the player has to be for the enemy to start following the player. So let's set it to 80, which would be in pixels. So that's 80 pixels.
Still working to surpass, everybody getting past on my way up fast. So watch out for me now, everybody in this town will be looking at my crown. I got my knuckles all wrapped, blood drips from the scabs, bloody fists from the jabs. Do you wanna see what you're made of? What if there was no one to save us? Would you leave it all on the pavement?
Then let's make a variable called move speed, which is how fast this enemy moves. Now it's time
Find out my limits. I'ma put everything in it. I'm in this life to win it, and this is just the beginning. Do you want it bad? Do you want it bad?
to code our events. First of all, I'm going to go and add the create event to initialize some properties. Let's add this code here. These are the target coordinates that the enemy is going to follow. So it's the target X and target Y. Right now it's set to the same coordinates as the enemy. Then we are setting alarm 0.
You don't wanna see me mad, I'll be coming with that payback. You don't wanna taste that, don't wanna see me on attack. Trust me, you don't wanna face that adrenaline, I crave that. Yeah, you know I'm nasty, I'm about to be a savage. When I want it, better have it, nothing's getting past me. About to take this to the mat and you'll be wishing you could take it back, yeah. Like an assassin, I'm praying, I gotta act on a craving. I'm coming after, I'm chasing, I'm gonna capture, erasing. Yeah, those who cross me, you'll be crossed off, cause I'm plotting. About to pop off, you can't stop me. Winning is exhausting, but I don't plan on stopping. As long as they keep talking, I got these bodies
to 60. There's an event called alarm 0. So let's add this code here. These are the target coordinates that the enemy is going to follow. So it's the target X and target Y. Right now it's set to the same coordinates as the enemy. Then we are setting alarm 0 to 60.
second best. They gon' learn today what it feels to regret. You can't stop me now. The demons tearing out. Cause I'm seeing no way.
there's an event called alarm 0. So what this means is that the alarm 0 event will run 60 frames after this line is called. And by default, 60 frames is 1 second. What we want is for alarm 0 to run every second, and every second the enemy sets a new target position for it to move towards. So we're gonna work on that as well. For now, we need another line in this event. We are getting the tile map of the tiles called layer again, which we did in the player as well, so that the enemy can also check for collisions against the walls. Now let's program the alarm 0 event, where we
From the anger in my head, I'll never be second best. They gon' learn today what it feels to regret. You can't stop me now. The beat's tearing now. Cause I'm seeing no and I'll haunt your nightmares. Little did you know that I like fear. When you turn, I'll be right there. You should be afraid, you should be scared.
we're gonna set a new target position for the enemy. I'll click on the plus sign here, and under alarm, I'll select the alarm 0 event.
And then heart rate is rising, some call it scared. You'll feel the chill start raising your hairs. It's too late, you're here now.
Here, we want to do this. First of all, we're gonna check if the player exists, and if the player is close enough. If so, we'll set the target position to the player's position so the enemy follows the player. Else, if that is not true, meaning that the player either doesn't exist or the player is not close enough, then we're going to set the target position to a random point in a square area around the enemy. So let's write the conditions for the first check. If the player exists, and if the distance to obj player is less than distance to player, we're gonna set
Your nightmares. Little did you know that I like fear. When you turn, I'll be right there. You should be afraid, you should be scared. We're all alone, you're on your own. It's you and me who's going home. Look up, cause I'm right here. Welcome to a real life nightmare. Slash all your dreams. A demon preys on the weak. You better watch out for me. Mistakes were made, you will see. You should've never crossed me, cause now you'll never stop me. Revenge was my calling. Now you're a dead man walking. And I'll haunt your nightmares. Little did you know that I like fear. When you turn, I'll be right there. You should be afraid, you should be scared. We're all alone, you're on your own. It's you and me who's going home. Look up, cause I'm right here. Welcome to a real life nightmare.
the target X and target Y values to the player's X and Y values.
deep way under the surface, and like a fire needs coal in the furnace. This is your goal that makes it all worth it. This is your why that gives you your purpose. Let's go. Thoughts can keep you down, pushing deep until you drown, or they can keep you up strong, focused on the now. Glass half full, or has it been emptied out? Well, that's all up to
Then we add an else block, and here I'll first of all set the target x variable to a random value between two numbers. The first number is the starting x position of the enemy, minus 100. The second number is the starting x position of the enemy, plus 100. So the target x will be anywhere between these 2 points using the position that the enemy started at. Then we're gonna do the same for the target y position, but using the y start position of the enemy.
you're good at, all your gifts and what you love. Take a risk and find out what you've been missing. Yeah. The will lies deep way under the surface, and like a fire needs coal in the furnace. This is your goal that makes it all worth it. This is your why that gives you your purpose. The will lies deep way under the surface, and like a fire needs coal in the furnace. This is your goal that makes it all worth it. This is your why that gives you your purpose. Purpose is better than any drug you could ever think. If you know why you're doing something, that's all you need. I wake up ready for the day because I believe in everything that I'm doing, like it was meant to be. I get fixated and captivated on learning things. Don't hesitate to ask questions, the answer that I need. It's out there somewhere, I swear I can find the recipe. By testing, learning, and turning into a better me. The will lies deep way under the surface, and like a fire needs coal in the furnace. This is your goal that makes it all worth it. This is your why that gives you your purpose.
Finally, we need to set alarm 0 again so that it runs again after 1 second, and this forms a loop so that alarm 0 keeps running every second. Now we want to allow the enemy to move towards the target, which we'll do in the step event, so I'll go and add that. Here let's figure out how much we need to move horizontally and vertically by adding this. For the horizontal value, I'll take the difference between the target x and the current x, and then to make sure that it doesn't go above 1 or below -1, I'll clamp it to the range between those values. So it'll be between -1 and 1. Then I'll do the same for vertical, but using the target y and current y values.
I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad. I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad. Doing no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad. Baby, I'm bad.
I just wanna stay bad, stay mad. Chip on my shoulder cause they treat me like an outcast. I ain't gonna take that, stay back. I'll be swinging hard till the hits come in all caps. I ain't gonna lay back, pray that someone's gonna help me. Ain't nobody like that. I ain't gonna wait, that's all fact. Give me one shot and I'll never get the throne back. I'm sick of being cautious. I'ma go cause something, can't stop this. I'ma steal everybody's lane, call it shoplift. Sick of hearing everyone complain when they thoughtless. Taste the pain, it's like candy canes. It makes me go change into a better frame, into a better name. Society's insane, we all live for fame. Yeah. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad. I just wanna get caught up in this life. I'm crazy, I'm mad. Do it no cap. Only God wants you, better go live it up. Cash in the bag, stadium packed. Baby, I'm bad. Baby, I'm bad. I got the cash in the bag, stadium packed. Born a rock star in this life, gon' live it up on the attack. Baby, I'm bad. I just wanna get caught up
Finally, we'll call the move and collide function with the horizontal and vertical values multiplied with the move speed. It should also stop when it collides with the tile map. Now run the game with F5, you will see the enemies moving about randomly, and when you get close enough, they start following you. Once you get multiple enemies to follow you, you'll notice that they all end up overlapping each other, and it just looks like it's one enemy, so we need to fix that. To fix this, we're going to modify the move and collide function so it also collides with other enemy instances. For that, I'll first of all make this parameter an array by adding square brackets. An array is just a value that contains multiple values. So I'll add a second value into this array, which is the obj enemy parent object. Now this function is going to make the enemy stop when it collides with either the tile map or any other enemy instance. So run the game and get multiple enemies to follow you. You'll see that they don't overlap anymore and they stay in their own place.
You cannot stop me, I'ma make it to the top spicy. Call a covenant, not cocky. You cannot break me, this world's mine for the taking. Got an itch, man, I'm making. Oh, I'll keep my head down and grind and be patient. I'll take a stab at the top and the sailing. They can all try, but you cannot contain it. Cause I see the things that I want and I take on my goal. Push myself to the brink, no limit. Do what it takes to be free, committed. I'm a little obsessed with things, I'll admit it. But that's what it takes to get a freedom ticket. Got a killer instinct and it's just the beginning. Breaking down walls and the hurt start thinning. And the more you push it, the fast start trimming. Till you're the only one standing up straight, winning all.
No, we never sit still. It's time to stand up, time to take the red pill to make this our world.
The final thing we'll do for this video is to make sure that the order in which our instances are drawn follows the vertical positions of the instances. For example, if the player is below the enemy, it should be drawn in front of it, but if it's above the enemy, then it should be drawn behind it, otherwise you know it's not going to look correct. For that, let's open the obj player object. I'm going to go to add a new event, and under step, I'll select the end step event. This is the same as the step event, but it just runs after the main step event. So it will run after every instance has run its step event and has moved to its new position. Here we're going to make a with all block. What this means is that anything inside this block is going to run for all instances in the room. So that's the player and all enemies and everything else. So in this
team, and if you're alone, then a one-man army. So you better be starving. And you better be carving through the hate, keep marching. And every day keep charging ahead till you get what you want, what you dream. Regret is a thing of the past and you'll
This
see.
block, let's set the depth variable to negative bbox underscore bottom. The bbox bottom value is the vertical position of the instance at its bottom edge. So we want to use that to sort the instances. It's set to negative because a lower depth means the instance is drawn on top. So if you are below another instance, meaning your vertical position is greater, your depth is going to be that much lower, so you are drawn above that other instance. If you now run the game and walk around an enemy, you'll notice how the drawing order is switching correctly, and it now looks the way it should compared to how it looked before without the depth code that we just added. And that's it for this be that much lower, so you are drawn above that other instance. If you now run the game and walk around an enemy, you'll notice how the drawing order is switching correctly, and it now looks the way it should compared to how it looked before without the depth code that we just added. And that's it for this video. You now have a working player that moves and animates, and enemies that move randomly and follow the player when it's near. We're now going to move on to combat, which can either be real-time sword combat or turn-based combat. So click on the video that you want to follow, and we'll continue with the game in the next video.
Wake up, no sunlight, so cold, sleep is nice, so tired, my eyes fight, they just wanna close back up tight.